Well, good morning.
Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a two-lane trip of memories in the mysteries unknown.
Good morning, everyone.
Come along for the ride.
Well, as you can see, we have a little bit of a different format this morning.
Hinckley's America.
Been plagued with multitude of technical difficulties, kind of making me think that perhaps being an Amish farmer is a career move. How's everybody doing this morning? I'm trying to figure this out real quick, and we will get this thing going. We've got a great little special program this morning. So who's with us this morning? Let me just grab something real quick. We'll get this show on the road. Yeah, this morning I was unable to get log into Mevo, and that created some some issues. And then, well, anyway, here we are. We are here with you this morning. Good morning, Miss Sylvia. How are you today? What an adventure. I could not get Mevo functioning, so we're going with Plan B this morning. And it's really been an interesting morning. So I had to rig up another camera and try to get things going. But we are here, and I hope everybody's doing well this morning. Good morning, mi amigos. Let's get this thing going. We are a day late for Halloween stories, but on this morning's program, I'm going to be sharing some sad, tragic, and dark tales from the Mother Road. These are from my latest book, Murder and Mayhem on the Main Street of America, Tales from Bloody 66. Well, many readers have they've asked what stories in the book did I find most interesting. Well, today I will answer those questions. Like I said, one more time, I do have to apologize. I could not get Mevo connected this morning. So as a result, I won't be able to add the graphics and the photos that I had planned for this. So we'll just have to watch me beat my gums for a half hour. But hopefully I can provide you with a bit of entertainment here. And so grab your coffee. Good morning, Dries. Grab your chair and your coffee. And the music this morning was from the Road Crew. That's our theme song. And you can check out some of their music for road trip inspiration at roadcrew66.com. Okay, let's get to the trivia contest. We did not have a winner. So perhaps this one was a little bit too tough. The answer was the Blue Spruce Lodge in Gallup, New Mexico. It opened in 1949. John Milosevic built the motel, and in 1935, at age 21, he was elected the mayor of Gallup, and he was the youngest mayor in the United States at that time. Okay, if you would like to win a signed copy of Murder and Mayhem on the Main Street of America, Tales from Bloody 66, the first answer is the winner. Okay, it's a two-part question. In what Illinois community will you find what is supposed to be the oldest commercial building along the Route 66 corridor in that state? Number two, what was the original name of that business? Most Route 66 enthusiasts are familiar with the fast-fading remnants of John's modern cabins, located a few miles east of the ghost town of Arlington, Missouri. We're going to start there, John's modern cabins, for our tales of the dark side this morning. Excuse me. This is a really favorite photo op, these old tumble-down log cabins and the signs and the trees. These cabins are the last vestiges of Bessie's place. This was a roadhouse and auto court complex established in 1931 by Bill and Beatrice Bessie Bayless. It proved to be a profitable enterprise. The cabins were a popular start for travelers, and the roadhouse was a favored weekend destination for residents of Rolla, Arlington, and nearby communities. Well, in the fall of 1935, Eugene Duncan's estranged wife, 18-year-old Billy, she was frequenting the roadhouse, and there was a local rumor had it that she also made use of the cabins after hours. Well, the rumors fueled Eugene's rage, and, well, he got to drinking one night, and in October he shot his wife in the left eye on the dance floor at a Halloween dance. There was a quick trial as Eugene confessed. He was sentenced to 50 years in the state penitentiary. And this one, and if I were to select just one story from this book that really intrigued me, I mean that really grabbed my attention, even though it was dark, it would be one that was linked to the largest manhunt in New Mexico history. The disappearances remain unsolved to this very day, and it's still the subject of occasional newspaper stories, and state investigators continue to seek clues as they become available. Here we go. George Laurius. He was an executive with a coal and ice company in East St. Louis, Illinois, and he was moderately wealthy, especially by the standards of the Great Depression. Laurius, his wife Laura, and their good friends Albert and Tilly Herber, they often traveled together on weekend jaunts and vacations. Well, in late spring 1935, the two couples set out on a grand adventure west along Route 66. They had planned to stop in Vaughn, New Mexico to meet with an old friend and make a side trip up to see the new Boulder Dam before ending up in San Diego. Laurius was known for an extreme attention to detail, and he mapped the trip carefully and had his 1929 Nash sedan serviced for the trip and outfitted with new tires. Well, they followed Route 66 west and mailed postcards from Miami and Sayre, Oklahoma, regaling family and friends with stories from the road. Seemed like they were having a good time, no real problems. Then on May 21st, 1935, they checked into the Vaughn Hotel in Vaughn, New Mexico. The next morning, they had breakfast in the hotel's cafe, checked out, loaded their luggage in the Nash, and vanished. Almost the entire state police department was eventually involved in the case. The FBI created a file that was nearly 6 feet high. New Mexico Governor Clyde Hinckley, he posted a $1,000 reward for information leading to the resolution of the mystery. And he also authorized the use of the National Guard troops to assist law enforcement agencies in the search. Well, a few days later, some of their luggage was found in a smoldering pile east of the Nob Hill area of Albuquerque. And a few days later, more luggage was found, but this time along a highway near El Paso, Texas. An extensive search was launched into the surrounding desert. Then on May 29th, Laurius's badly damaged Nash was found abandoned in Dallas, Texas. Well, the Albuquerque FBI field office assigned Albert Raymond Gere to the case. Now, vague clues gave hints of the course that Laurius has followed from Vaughn. There was a postcard mailed to the family indicated that he had followed Route 66 north from Santa Rosa and then through Santa Fe to Albuquerque. Examination of his card gave no indication of a struggle or violence, but Gere did find receipts in a notebook with odometer readings in Laurius' handwriting. The last entry and receipt were from a service station in Socorro, New Mexico, south of Albuquerque, dated May 23rd. Well, agents investigated every single service station from Vaughn to Santa Rosa, Albuquerque, south to Socorro, and only one station, the last recorded stop in Socorro, provided positive identification. Ominously, traveler's checks belonging to George Laurius with forged signatures turned up in Vaughn, and again over the course of the coming weeks, all throughout New Mexico and in Texas. Acting on a hunch, Gere expanded the investigation along the highway from Vaughn to Socorro and west along Route 66 all the way to Lupton at the Arizona state line. The last confirmed lead came from a gas station in Quemado, New Mexico. It's a town on the west side of the state. And they identified the missing travelers from a photograph. And from there, the trail went cold. Well, during the investigation and the years that followed, thousands of leads were checked. But by July 4th, with nothing new to report, the disappearance began to fade from the newspapers. By the end of the year, only family and Agent Gere were really still looking seriously for answers. Well, upon his retirement, in an interview published in the Socorro Chieftain on July 31st, 1947, Gere said his biggest regret was his inability to solve the Laurius and Heber disappearances. And he suggested that amateur sleuths look along US 60 near Quemado. He said that the case had consumed 30 FBI volumes, 7 years of his time as an agent, and countless pages of newspaper and magazine type. And he said, there have been hundreds of theories about what happened and where it happened to George and Laura, Albert and Tilly, but I'm convinced they were murdered and their bodies hidden somewhere near Quemado. What really, I mean, the story was unnerving and it was worrisome. But what really got me about this story, what really made this thing, made the hair stand up the back of my neck, and Mr. Gere, the FBI agent, he said that one reason they'd had problems with this was they had been working more than a dozen nearly identical cases of missing people along the Route 66 corridor in Arizona and New Mexico. Keith, I understand. I have had nothing but troubles today, technical issues. As you can see, we're trying a different camera format. I don't have the photos like I usually do. Okay. As far as this missing persons case, years later, one more tantalizing clue was uncovered. Walter Duke, he was an Albuquerque real estate agent and a distant relative of the Lauriuses. He spent his lifetime investigating the case, and he held to the belief that the couples met their fate in Vaughn. Well, in 1963, an anonymous woman sent him a letter claiming that she had worked as a waitress at the cafe in the Vaughn Hotel in May of 1935. And she said she was present when the victims were taken into the basement of the cafe and shot and killed. Kind of dark side of Route 66, wouldn't you say? My next story from the book, this seems like a script for the old television show with Broderick Crawford, Highway Patrol. Do you folks remember that one, or am I really getting too old for that? Nolan, my goodness, we have a winner. I'll contact you as soon as this is done, and we will get your address and get you a book in the mail. My goodness, that was quick. Okay, like I said, this next program seems like a script for Highway Patrol. It was a real popular program back in the 1950s with tough guy Broderick Crawford. This one is from Grants, New Mexico. The town was placed in the media spotlight nationwide following a kind of a bizarre police shooting tragedy. On Friday, April 11th, 1952, State Police Officer Nash Garcia was parked on the shoulder of U.S. Route 66 about 20 miles east of Grants. A pickup truck sped past him, recklessly passing cars, and abruptly, in a cloud of dust, the driver pulled onto the shoulder before turning back into the highway in front of oncoming traffic. He miraculously avoided causing an accident before speeding east past Officer Garcia and roaring towards Grants. Obviously, the police officer began hot pursuit. Well, near the Acoma Indian Reservation, the driver left the highway, turned onto a dirt road, and drove for a few miles before violently braking. Well, when Officer Garcia neared the truck, an assassin lying in ambush opened fire with a rifle. He fired 9 shots into the police car, hitting Garcia several times. The sniper and the driver of the car pulled the wounded officer from the car and beat him to death. And then they put him back in the police car and they drove to a spot, a real remote area near Sandstone Mesa. The following day they returned, filled the car with scrub brush and wood, and set it afire. Nash Garcia was the first member of the New Mexico State Highway Patrol to be murdered in the line of duty. Well, in these days, it wasn't unusual for an officer to be out of contact for a day or two, especially when patrolling the remote roads and the reservations. So Officer Garcia wasn't missed until Sunday morning when he failed to check in. When officers contacted his wife and learned that she had not heard from him since Friday, they launched an intense manhunt. Word about the missing officer, circulated through Grants and into the surrounding countryside. A local cowboy contacted the police to say that on Friday he had seen Garcia in pursuit of a truck that he's recognized as belonging to Willie and Gabriel Felipe. Well, on Sunday evening, On Sunday evening, state police officers Dick Lewis and Joe Fernandez. Folks, I do apologize. I can't seem to get past this. State police officers Dick Lewis and Joe Fernandez, they contacted authorities on the Acoma Reservation, and they arrested Willie Felipe, who offered no resistance. In an interview with a reporter for the Albuquerque Journal, he made a full confession and incriminated his brother. "I knew they'd get me. They always get me," Willie said. The next morning, Willie led a 7-vehicle caravan of officers to Sandstone Mesa, where the burned police cruiser lay partially hidden in an arroyo. The following day, Albuquerque policeman Robert Olana arrested Gabriel Felipe on North 1st Street in Albuquerque. And like his brother, Gabriel offered no resistance when taken into custody. However, he maintained that he took no part in the killing, and he had tried to actually prevent the murder. In the fall of 1952, the brothers were tried, convicted, and sentenced to death. An appeal was filed claiming that they were both drunk and insane at the time of the shooting. In March 1953, U.S. District Court Judge Carl Hatch found them both sane and competent, but their sentence was commuted to life in federal prison. Gabriel ended up serving 19 years, and Willie served 20 years before they were released on parole. Well, these are just a few of the hundreds of stories I turned up during research for this book. And, as one travels Route 66 today, it's really easy to forget that because this road was popular with vacationing families and truck drivers, it was also popular with thieves and serial killers and gangsters and murderers and grifters. Well, if you'd like a copy of the book, defaced with my signature, you can order it from the website, JimHinckley'sAmerica.com. Well, I should give a shout out to the wonderful Wagon Wheel Motel in Cuba, Missouri. Thank you, Miss Connie Eccles. She's a sponsor of this program. And to supporters of our crowdfunding initiative on the Patreon platform, thank you. As my way of saying thank you for support of the crowdfunding initiative, I try to provide some interesting exclusive content. And one of the things I've started is I've been doing this for a while, sharing stories from the infancy of the road trip in the American auto industry. And I'm deriving these from journals like Edsel Ford and others, and writing them word for word, providing illustrations as I have them available, and in a serial format. I pull them from sources like old books, things of that nature, and the current series on the Patreon crowdfunding site is from 1901, Alexander Wenton's ill-fated attempt to become the first person to drive from coast to coast in an automobile. I'm reprinting this word for word, and this is quite a story here. I'll share just a little excerpt from you of some of the things they went through. Talking about when the roads got wet, and he said, your wheels cut in, spin around, slip and slide from the course, and suddenly your machine is off the road and into the swamp ditch, buried to the axles in the soft doby. Then the fun begins. You pull out the block and tackle, wade around in the mud, get soaked to the skin, chilled from the effects of the deluge, make fastenings to a fence or telephone post and pull. You pull hard, you dig your heels into the mud, and exert every effort at command. The machine moves, your feet slip, and down in the mud you go, full length. You repeat the dose and continue the operation until the machine is free from the ditch, and again upon the road. A mile later, you repeat the process and start again. Okay. Man, this has been a quick half hour. It took me almost an hour to get to this point. Our coffee mug sponsor of the week is the California Route 66 Museum in Victorville, California. Since everything seems to be subject to change at a moment's notice this year, I can't promise they'll be open when you motor west on Route 66. But if they are, make a stop. You won't be disappointed. Fascinating exhibits, friendly staff, lots and lots of surprises. It's a great little museum. I highly recommend it. If you would like your business, community, or museum sponsored as a coffee cup sponsor, real easy. Free. Mail us a coffee cup. That's it. Of course, as my dearest friend and I like to continue eating on a regular basis, you know, if you stick a check or a few dollars in there, I sure as heck wouldn't complain. Oh, my parting thought for the day is this. Tuesday is election day. Please vote. Here, this is the United States. And don't forget don't forget. The folks who didn't vote for your preferred candidate are not your enemy. They're neighbors. They're shop owners where you live. They're community leaders. They're your veterans. It's up to us if we allow ourselves to be divided. And let's get this election done, and let's see if we can put the United back in the United States. Well, I guess that about wraps it up for this week. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer? Mr. Jameson, good morning from Illinois. Folks, how are Elizabeth Maggie May, all the way from Michigan. And dear Sylvia, good morning. Me amigos, thank you for joining us this morning. I hope that you enjoyed it. And my good friend, my dear friend, says I can tell these stories for hours, even if I'm the only one in the room, and still enjoy myself. And well, I hope you can join us next Sunday morning for another episode of Coffee with Jim. Invite your friends. Let's make it a coffee party. Until next week, my friends, via Candilos. And once again, thank you. Take care, my friends. Thank you, Frank.